We get one lawsuit with the IGCC.
Is that? You know,
can you repeat his question?
He said one lawsuit over the IGCC and they're probably out of business.
Well, interestingly, there's litigation right now over the LEED, of the performance of LEED buildings. I don't know if all of you've seen in New York. It'll be interesting to see what happens, what develops out of that. I think, you know, when I was in practice, we would say any lawsuit over a code violation, and I'd be out of business. My insurers don't like it if I don't know what's in the code. And if the code gets tougher, yeah, it's harder to meet it. And my liability risk, well, my risk goes up. But we have to face it. We have to face it head on because we don't want to be caught after the fact, not understanding what's in this thing. We want to understand from the beginning, help develop it, control the expectations. And you know, in every code cycle, again, it's only law when it gets adopted. I think there are states that probably will never adopt a green code unless they're forced to. But in the jurisdictions where this is adopted and the I codes are adopted regularly, we can return to the code development process. If there's a problem with the code that really deeply affects architects, we can change it. We can make it better. So we have to be, it's critical to be involved in this because we can't take any of these liability professional practice issues lightly.
Now you put a lot of responsibility on the local municipality as far as determining what level they want to use.
Yes.
You're going to walk in there and go to them in 90% of the cases, and they're going to look at you like you're a green monster. They don't have a clue.
There's a knowledge gap on the yeah, there's a knowledge gap on the building official side. ICC acknowledges that as well. I don't know how we're going to address that. Jurisdictions that have already enacted green building laws, Baltimore has one, a homegrown green code. Maryland has a statewide adoption of the I code, so I'm really curious to see what happens when it's their code cycle, adoption cycle, if they take on the IGCC over any of the other codes. But they do compliance, they've done education of their building officials, and the problem is that the funds are not readily available in many, many jurisdictions to educate their code officials. And you may have, you know, Seattle, Portland, Boston, Baltimore, even New York City, San Francisco. They can afford the education. Mississippi can't, and they don't have a statewide energy code anyway. So the disparity between jurisdictions is huge, huge, and the education gap, depending on what jurisdiction you're in, is either enormous or it's just a bump in the road. You know, it depends on where you are.
Is this really a good time to be pressing all of this on everybody when municipalities are going bankrupt, states are starting to look at bankruptcy, school districts are going bankrupt? Is this really a good time to be doing all this?
That's a conversation that's happening at every level, including the federal level. Jurisdictions can't pay their police officers and their school teachers right now. How are we going to adopt this code? But you know, if it does happen in the jurisdictions where it gets enacted, I want to make sure that it's the best code it can be. In the cases where they can't afford to adopt a new code, they won't adopt it, and it will be a non-issue. So, how much time? I'm a little over. How about one more question? Did you have one, or somebody in the back? Right here?
How does the energy conservation code fit into this?
It does. So the IECC is sort of think of it as the base, and the IGCC is supposed to meet the stringency of the IECC in 2012 by 10%. That was the mandate from the ICC board.
So would this code be referenced in that code as well?
It does in some cases, yes. The prescriptive, like for the prescriptive requirements, it starts at IECC and then goes up. Sure.
How does that fit in? You said it's part, it's kind of integrated into energy code. Is that, are we still kind of working with the basic, can we just have build a new code? Can we build our building based on these things that we need? So I'm not really happy with the answer. I would rather have a green code.
Well, you know, it's all driven by a voluntary process, and so unless you live in a jurisdiction where they require LEED Silver or certified or gold or something, it's meant to be voluntary. So if your building owner comes to you and says, "I want LEED Platinum," well, that's part of the program. So if you live in a jurisdiction where you have the green code and you have an owner asking for replatting, then you have to meet the green code first as a minimum in for apartments, and then we would kind of float above that. Okay. Thank you so much for your attention.